Welcome everyone to our parent webinar. This takes place the last Wednesday of every month at noon, unless we have a special unscheduled guest and news that we must get to our audience, in which case we do email everyone to stay posted on times and dates. And I want to thank our anonymous donor who sponsored this event, giving us tools and equipment that we needed to be able to take this nationwide. This is James Billig. He is our Chief Compliance Officer for UACT, also our Blue Task Force leader, and retired law enforcement who is training law enforcement. And James, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I spent the last 35 years in threat mitigation. I'm a retired police officer and also have worked diligently in the active shooter world, trying to protect children as best I can, and now I've had the grace of God to be working with you full time, working on trying to save our children who are really being targeted severely right now by these sexual predators.
I'm so glad to have you on board. And we need more champions on board with us, and we're hoping that you will join the team. Now today we're talking about something that probably most people don't know about. It's known as SOE. What is SOE, Jim?
It's sadistic online exploitation, and the phrase 764 has now fortunately become more well known over the past few months. But what people need to realize is that SOE is the classification that the federal government is now utilizing to encompass all the spin-off groups that have been created beyond 764. They are cults. And it's, when you see it on a piece of paper on a screen, it's CVLT for cult. So those are some of the identifiers you should look for. But SOE has now become the common term to encompass all these different groups.
And according to NCMEC, I believe this has gone up over 117% in 1 year. That was in 2025. We haven't even counted the beginning of this year.
Yeah, it's really important for us to overemphasize this. That's reported. So these crimes, sex crimes, these are some of the most unreported crimes that take place in our environment. And so, from a crime prevention standpoint, when you look at that, you need to multiply that tenfold.
So are they targeting certain types of children or not?
Well, they're going to typically be looking for a child online, through your typical gaming apps. Someone who weak-minded a little bit, they're maybe seeking some help. A lot of times they'll target the eating disorder websites.
I remember reading that.
Yeah, kids that may be suicidal, they look for easy targets, and as dark and as sick as that sounds, that's the reality of it. So if you do have a child that is under threat for any of those things, that's the type of thing you need to warn them about. That they may be speaking to somebody in those groups trying to gain help, but on the other side of that could be a predator trying to groom them, develop that friendship, develop that trust, and then turn on them and make their life more miserable.
So I have a question. Who wasn't vulnerable in middle school? I mean, weren't all of us?
I was.
I certainly was.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, everybody is, and but we only had to deal with those issues, 8 to 10 hours a day, and then you would go home and have the freedoms of being anonymous and being at home,
right,
or just with whatever friends you have. These kids are being pounded all day long.
So let's flip the script for a moment. What if it's a well-adjusted child who's known in their school, maybe a football star, maybe a debate star? Do they go after those children? Yeah, so I guess what the hardest thing for folks to understand, especially parents, is the motivation behind all this is clout. The motivation behind the SOE 764 is to develop this lore, this having this status that you are the person who's been able to control other people, control weak-minded people, and then task them with doing some pretty horrific things. Do they have point and reward systems?
They do, and it works on that. They call them lore books, and these are, these children who cause others to do harm to themselves and others, to animals. Ultimately, unfortunately, having them commit suicide is the ultimate goal for some of these groups. And so, when you understand that's the motivator behind it, it's not money. Even though they utilize sextortion as a way to gain that power, getting that actual money through sextortion is not the motivator. It's to actually make that child do something that they did not want to do and to gain control. It's like dealing with any extorter, any type of kidnapper. You know, once you give a little bit, once you pay a little bit, they're not going to let you. Yeah, they're not. We don't deal with terrorists. Well, that's what this is. This is a terrorist organization.
Who is doing this? What is the demographic of the who?
So really how this all started, you know, it all started with Bradley Cadenhead in 764 and how the cult started, but understand that this is an international network. It's very decentralized. So it's very hard for federal agents to get their thumb on this. And so it's older folks that are beginning the concept and developing the concept and kind of putting that playbook out there for them, but it's younger teenage kids who are engaging in this behavior. So as sad as it is, looking for a potential victim in a child that may be your child, you may have a potential suspect in your world that you're not aware of that is engaging in this behavior to force others to do this. This is a local crime that takes place.
And they can suck them into their groups. It's not that hard for them to do that. That can happen easily. So this is why your open conversations with your children are so important, and also knowing the signs, which we will talk about. All right, so what platforms are they using to go after children? How's this working?
A lot of attention has been brought to Roblox. As you guys, understand, when one group starts to get a lot of attention, they're agile enough to just move to another. So really,
Minecraft.
Yeah, the movement of
games.
Minecraft. The way things started off, it was really Fortnite was really the big one, where anywhere that you can get into these group chats. Mm-hmm. The idea behind it is just a slow grooming. You get in, you develop the friendship, you're having innocent conversations, and you're starting to groom the individual who just has a commonality. The commonality is we like playing this video game together. The ultimate motivation is to get them into that private chat room. Once they get into those private sites like Discord,
Snapchat,
or Snapchat, that does have some protections built into it now. But the idea behind it is they want to get them into into an engaging conversation that disappears rapidly, so there's no forensic evidence for that.
And so let's talk about the signs. What are the signs of a victim, and what might you notice in a child that might be involved in a gang that's doing this, or in a cult?
So the behavioral signs, sudden shifts in mood, they become withdrawn, irritable. You start to see their grades change, maybe loss of appetite. Those typical things. You start to wonder what's happening with your teenager, right? Yeah. And it's like, we see our teenagers change naturally anyways, so it's very difficult to pick up. One of the biggest things that we had pre-discussed about this was unexplained cuts and scratches. The cutting is a very big sign.
You know what cutting is? Where they're actually slicing razor slices across their hands, and across their wrist and arm, and they can do it in certain patterns. That's one of the big signs.
Yeah, and a really again, as we talk about this clout and building up this lore book and this attention of being, I've done this great thing to motivate this child to do this horrible thing, is for them to get their sign, their logo, or their name, this actual predator, to get that victim to carve that into their own skin. That is huge for them. That goes a long way in their clout world and inside that cult.
But parents, be aware, because if there's something that your child is cutting on the skin that looks like a pattern, looks like a symbol, looks like a sign of ownership, that is a huge red flag.
Sure, and start looking for the way that they're dressing. If they start wearing long sleeve clothing and on hot days, that might be an indicator that they have fresh wounds. Right. A lot of times they'll do it on their upper legs too, that they can hide it in their shorts.
Yes.
But unfortunately, the way that the predators work, they want them to put it in obvious places. They don't want them to hide it. They want it to be out there.
Right.
So they'll use whatever type of exploitation that they can to motivate that victim to do that.
And so let's talk about tools and solutions, because this is horrifying. What can a parent do?
So it's digital footprinting. You got to look at the way that these digital footprints work. There is going to be some type of footprint for that, because again, these predators want some type of record of the action that took place so they can get their credit for it. So somewhere along the way, your child is going to screenshot or, like you said, doodle somewhere. Those are the types of things to look for. We've partnered with Bark, and Bark is probably the most popular watchdog out there to be able to see these things and alert parents immediately if this behavior is taking place on their devices.
Both the phone and the app.
Correct.
And you can use code. Our old name is still on it. I believe it's 4FFA.
Yes.
And we will change that to 4 UAC.
Yeah, they may have already done that for UAC, but if you have any difficulties at all getting a discount, please
just contact us. Yes,
we'll get you your discount. We think you should have it. And if you're utilizing an Android, you may as well just get the Bark Android because it's the same price. But it's built into the back end of the phone, so the child can't override it. That's vitally important. But as good as the technology is, and as much as we want to utilize technology, there's no silver bullet in all this. There has to be a comprehensive approach, and that's communication.
Conversations.
Yes, that's communication.
Non-judgmental and open conversations so that parents can sit down with their children and say, listen, these are some of the things that I found out, but I want you to feel comfortable talking to me. You're not in trouble. I just want to equip you so you can be safe. So let's talk about this.
Yeah, and a lot of times, these, of course, we're all teenagers, right? Yeah. We talk about teenagers like they're from some other planet. We were all teenagers.
Aliens.
Yes, we were all teenagers at one point, and we think the things that we learn as teenagers, our parents are so oblivious to, and they have no idea what's going on. But you do know what's going on. You do know these things are going on. So you break the ice by just approaching it with them, saying, hey, look, we know these things are going on. Whether it be you or a friend of yours that's being affected by this, I want you to know that we're here for you. We're a trusted voice. We're someone for you to come to.
Yes.
And by no means do you give any money or any more personal information, because they'll start to dox kids. And understanding what doxing is, they can get all of your personal information. And think about the information you're putting out as a parent with your child on your Facebook page, right? The pictures of them out there with their names, because you want to show your involvement with your child, but you're giving you're giving a potential predator all the information they need.
What school they go to,
everything,
where they spend their time, what baseball field they're playing on.
Doesn't take much.
This is something we really need to consider as parents, and so we really urge you to take down those pictures. That that's not a good idea anymore.
Yeah. I think more parents are getting wiser to it. I'm seeing that, but I still every once in a while I'll scroll through Facebook and go, oh, I can't believe you put that picture out there.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because it's summertime and people want to show their families on vacation. Just be cognizant of what is the risk versus reward. That's all you've got to look at. That's the most important thing to think about it. I mean, what could happen with this photo of my child now being reutilized, utilizing AI and being put into some sadistic online exploitation, or CSAM that we talk about.
CSAM is child pornography.
The child pornography is put out there, and that's what they're doing. They're doing it day in and day out, and they're making a lot of money on it. That's the controlled environment that they have out there. These cartels that are making tons of money on it.
Just had a parent come to us that found pictures of her child on Amazon with phallic symbols in their mouths. Now, and this was what, he was 5, she was 3.
Yeah.
Parents, this is for real.
And the crazy thing about that story, somebody actually works for our organization, and of course I went and I investigated this and spoke to the business owner. He had no idea. Only thing he did was purchase
something from some platform, and found her children's pictures, although we have to question what was in their mouth. That was just terrible. So those are the kinds of things you need to be watching out for. Now, we are going to end this video, and thank you for joining this pre-recorded video, but now it's time for live interaction, and James is going to be available. You can actually type a question in the chat if you haven't already done so, and we want to interact with you, and we want to give you more information, and we thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to our next parent webinar. We will be interviewing Superintendent Michael Main from Martin County, so very excited about that. Thank you.
Thank you.